All right, welcome back. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here for another explainer. Today we're diving into a story that, well, you probably think you already know. On the surface, sure, it's just a cute classic tale about bugs and animals, but actually, it holds some seriously profound psychological depth. We're looking at the events of the Grouchy Ladybug, because once we really map out the data and the timeline of this bug's day, you're going to see an absolute masterclass on ego, the total futility of unnecessary conflict, and most importantly, the incredible, nourishing power of sharing.
So, what can a grouchy bug, a whale's tail, and a leaf full of aphids actually teach us about the true power of kindness? Okay, let's dive into this because I know it sounds a bit like the setup to a weird joke, right? But the narrative we're about to break down holds a massive mirror right up to our own daily interactions. Let's see exactly how a single day in the life of a tiny insect can totally reframe how you and I handle conflict. The whole thing kicks off with what we call the inciting incident. The timeline starts bright and early at exactly 5 a.m. The sun is just coming up, and right on cue, a friendly ladybug flies in from the left, spots a leaf absolutely covered in aphids, and thinks, jackpot, perfect breakfast. But at that exact same moment, a grouchy ladybug flies in from the right, and boom, two radically different worldviews are about to collide over a finite resource, one single leaf of aphids.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is the immediate, stark contrast in how they approach this shared space. The friendly ladybug just says, "Good morning," and graciously offers, "Hey, we can share them." It's totally cooperative. But the grouchy ladybug, it immediately escalates to straight-up hostility. It shouts, "Go away! No, they're mine, all mine," and literally threatens a physical fight over these bugs. It is a textbook scarcity mindset clashing head-on with an abundance mindset. But the friendly ladybug doesn't back down. It sweetly, but very firmly, stands its ground, looks the grouchy bug straight in the eye, and essentially accepts the challenge. And right here, this is where we see the grouchy bug's true colors. When it's actually challenged, it suddenly stammers out, "Oh, well, you're not big enough for me to fight." It physically steps back. It suddenly looks a lot less sure of itself, right? Instead of just admitting defeat or, accepting the super polite offer to share, it masks its deep insecurity by moving the goalposts. It just puffs up its chest and flies off to find someone bigger to pick on.
And that initial rejection, it triggers an entirely new phase of our story, the escalation of ego. Think about it. Instead of simply sitting down to a nice, shared breakfast at 5 a.m., the grouchy ladybug is now heavily agitated and embarks on this completely absurd day-long ego trip. The bug has essentially chosen a path of relentless, totally unnecessary conflict just to prove a point to itself.
What follows is just a rapid-fire sequence of unprovoked aggression. At 6 a.m., it demands a fight with a yellow jacket. 7 a.m., a stag beetle. By 8 a.m., it's a praying mantis. 9, a sparrow. 10, a lobster. 11 a.m., it's literally bumping into a skunk. Noon brings a boa constrictor. 1 p.m., a laughing hyena. 2 p.m., a chest-beating gorilla. 3 p.m., a rhinoceros, and by 4 p.m., this tiny bug is literally challenging a massive elephant with big tusks to a fight, and every time the animal accepts the challenge, the bug uses the exact same weak excuse, "Oh, you're not big enough," and flies away. It is frantically seeking validation through conflict, but it's way too terrified to actually engage. But then we reach 5 p.m., and notice how the pacing of the story just drastically shifts here. The bug meets a whale. Up until this point, every single animal has responded to the bug's provocation in some way, right? The yellow jacket showed its stinger, the skunk lifted its tail, the gorilla beat its chest. But the whale doesn't answer at all. The grouchy ladybug has finally come face to face with an immovable, completely unbothered force.
We really need to break down these final agonizing 45 minutes step by step because the tension here is just brilliant. Step 1, 5 p.m. The bug challenges the whale. Complete silence, so it flies on. Step 2, 5:15 p.m. It challenges the whale's flipper. Still no answer. Step 3, 5:30 p.m. It's literally yelling at the whale's fin. Nothing. Finally, step 4, at 5:45, it demands a fight from the whale's tail, and the whale's tail delivers a massive, silent, literal slap back to reality, launching that grouchy ladybug flying all the way across the sea and across the land.
Which brings us to the resolution of our timeline. At exactly 6 p.m., 13 agonizing hours later, the grouchy ladybug arrives right back where it started from at 5 a.m. But look at its condition now. It is wet, it is dead tired, and it is incredibly hungry. Its ego has been entirely stripped away by the sheer force of reality.
It spent the entire day fighting the world, only to end up exactly where it began, just totally exhausted. And this brilliantly illustrates the true climax of the story. Because the friendly ladybug simply looks at it and says, "Ah, here you are again. You must be hungry. There's still some aphids left. You can have them for dinner." Do you see that? The friendly ladybug doesn't gloat, it doesn't drop an "I told you so," it simply extends this completely unexpected act of grace and kindness. It offers the exact same shared meal it offered 13 hours earlier. And this time, the broken, humbled, grouchy ladybug simply says, "Oh, thank you."
Which really brings us to the crucial point of our explainer today, the profound power of sharing. This story uses insects to hold up a shockingly clear mirror to human nature. I mean, think about it. How often do we let our own pride, our own stubborn insistence on saying mine, all mine, send us on these exhausting metaphorical flights? We fight battles we don't need to fight, instead of just sitting down and cooperating with the people right in front of us.
So let's distill everything we've covered into a few key takeaways. First off, unnecessary fighting and posturing, it literally only leads to exhaustion. Second, operating from pure ego just isolates us from others. The grouchy bug spent its whole day flying away from real connection. Third, sharing genuinely nourishes everyone. Once they actually shared the aphids, both bugs were finally fed and content. And finally, honestly my favorite detail from the source text. When the aphids are gone, the leaf itself says, "Thank you." When we share and act with kindness, it actually heals the environment around us. The story ends with both bugs sleeping peacefully while the fireflies dance around the moon. Complete harmony is restored.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought for you to take into your day. Are you spending your day fighting whales, or are you sharing your aphids? Like, are you letting your ego drag you into these exhausting, completely unwinnable conflicts, or are you choosing the quiet, nourishing power of grace and cooperation? Just think about that the next time you find yourself getting defensive over something small. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown gave you a totally new perspective on a wonderful story. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.